Bonjour everyone and welcome back to my channel, The Ways of Your Soul. Today I just wanted to do a fun little deck haul, just showing you the recent tarot and oracle decks I got. And I enjoy doing those show and tells, I enjoy watching them, I love seeing what other tarot readers, tarot lovers use. I find it super inspiring. It helps me not only decide what I want to get and what I don't want to get, but also it helps me look at my own purchases with a different way, maybe revisit something I already own, maybe finding something I already own that I could use a different way. And so I just hope that you will enjoy seeing this little deck haul as well. I don't feel like I have to do a disclaimer, but I will do one anyway, that of course this deck haul is not meant to push you to consume, to buy anything you don't want to buy. I'm not trying to get you to buy stuff you don't want to. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. I just like sharing decks I enjoy using, and or at least in this category these are going to be the new ones that have come to my collection. And that's it, just showing nice cards, talking about new decks. This is just meant to be fun. So if it's your first time here, I want to say a huge welcome. My name is Marine. I'm a French tarot reader, if you couldn't tell by the very heavy accent, and a lover of everything tarot, oracle, and self-empowerment related. So if you'd like to see any more of those things on your timeline, I invite you to subscribe, because I upload videos every single week. I would love to have you join the tide, which is, I've decided what I'm gonna call the community here. The waves of your soul, the tide. It made sense, right? This is my recent shower moment epiphany. Let's start with this deck haul. So this is what I added to my tarot and oracle collection in the last few months. Some of them I forgot to mention in my last deck haul because they had arrived just after I filmed it, and the rest are just recent buys. I have one Kickstarter that I backed, I think like a year ago at this rate, that I finally received, and yeah, just lots of fun stuff. So let's get started with my little deck haul. I have 4 oracle decks and 4 tarot decks. Didn't plan to be an even split, but I guess, you know, this is what it's gonna be today. So let's get started. So let's start with the first thing that's on the pile, because you can tell I've planned this very well. The first one I want to talk about. This is a deck that is the French version, but you can get it in English. So this is a mass market oracle deck by Wendy Andrews. This is called in French Lorac des rêves de la déesse. In English I believe it's called Goddess Dream Oracle. In English the cover is different, so this is why you might not recognize the box, but check out any kind of Wendy Andrews Dream of Goddess. I'll put the name in the description box, it'll be easier. But this is a mass market oracle deck that I found. I found a couple of like oracle decks in my local bookstore, which I was super happy about, because we normally never get cards where I am, because if you don't know, I live on a small tropical island, so it's very unusual for me to get decks where I live. But they're starting to get some tarot and oracle decks in one of the bookstore I visit, so I was super excited to find this one. It comes with a little guidebook, and here are the backs. And I feel like I've already used it in one of my readings, but I don't know if I've posted it already by the time I'm posting this. So this is a goddess inspired deck. It's super beautiful. What attracted me to this is the artwork, and I think this is the image that you see on the box of the English version, so you might recognize this particular image. So what I love about this deck is that it has one keyword and then a little bit of a sentence here and the image. So you don't necessarily need the guidebook, but the guidebook is very well written, and as you can see from the title and the imagery, it's very divine feminine inspired. So it is very much, you know, feminine energy, goddess energy. I think most of the cards depict different goddesses, but not all of them depict a goddess, if that makes sense. Like some of them, obviously this is Keridwen, but some of them are just fire or earth or air, but with a feminine, divine feminine twist. I actually have mentioned this in my recent favorite video, because as soon as I got it, I use it all month long. This has been in my library for at least a month, and I've been super enjoying using it. I find the artwork really intricate, really beautiful, and you can really get a lot of things intuitively speaking. Like, it's one of those that you don't need the guidebook, just from the images you get a ton. I have loved using this constantly for daily card pulls, for confirmation messages, small short messages, you know, that you can just take with you and you don't have to spend an hour figuring out what the messages are trying to tell you. And the backs are so nice. I love purple, so this is just so joyful. I'm so in love with those backings. Okay, next up in my discovery of decks in my local bookstore, we have this French deck. Now this is a French deck that is purely in French, so you cannot find it in English. I don't know if it will be eventually translated, but I still wanted to show it because it's new to my library, and also I think you could use it even if you don't speak French. This is called Lorac, des êtres, fantastiques, and the artwork is created by Gumiho and Stephanie Paco, I think. So this is mass market, and it's all about fantastic beings, which I thought was super cool. So this is one of those purchases that I didn't really plan, just like the one I did before. Normally I research my decks like so much, like thank you Tarot Tube, I love you, because thanks to you I have saved some coins because I didn't buy decks I didn't enjoy. This is why I really appreciate people who have review channel. I don't think I'll ever have a review channel, in the sense that by the time I get decks it's already like 2 years later or at least 6 months later, and people have moved on and I just can't keep up with new releases. It stresses me out, so I will leave that to do for people who are super good at it. But I do enjoy watching reviews etc from decks, because thanks to those people who have review channel and first impression unboxing and stuff, I normally never buy a deck that I've never seen. I always do my research, watch at least 2 or 3 videos before I buy. In the bookstore, didn't know anything about it, so as you can see, it comes with a guidebook, full color for each of the fantastic being. You get a really nice message in French. Obviously, this is a French deck, but I think you could use it without speaking French. So as you can see, the cards are quite glossy, which is a bit annoying. Here are the backs, which I find really beautiful. It's very interesting to me to have a deck that is fully on the creatures, fantastic beings. And why could you use it as an English person who doesn't speak French is because you know fantastic beings. We all have the same. This is a werewolf. This is an angel. Like, this is the forest spirit, and the images are so beautiful that you could intuitively assign your own meanings to it, from especially if you're used to working with elementals. Like this is a phoenix, this is I think in English you call him Cerberus, I think, you know, the three-headed dog that guards the entry of hell in Greek mythology. We have the Minotaur, so there's like literally all of the main kind of fantastic beings, the fairy, but I find the artwork really beautiful. It's photo montage, but it's done really nicely. Look at this goblin. I love him. He's like really out of Gringotts from Harry Potter. I love that. And as you can see, each of the card is just the image and the name of that fantastic being. So Pegasus here. So I think you could totally use this deck even if you don't speak French, because you could just assign your own meaning to the card. Read this card intuitively, use it as like altar, on your altar, use it as like ritual tools to communicate with the elements, or figuring out what energy, what elemental, what fantastic being could be your ally right now. That's what I've been doing. What I like about this deck is that it also has more confrontational fantastic beings, like the gargoyle, for example, or the vampire. So I find that normally with fantasy decks, we either get only mermaids, only unicorns, only fairies, or we get fantastic beings, but they're usually like the more light ones. But it's quite rare to get, or I haven't seen anyway, a deck where it's fantastic beings but with both light and shadow. This one has more, you know, there's a troll one, and we know there's still troll in this day and age, like internet trolls. This is how I imagine them to look like. Makes it easier to deal with them. So yeah, this deck is, I think, is a little hidden gem. I'm so pleased I, you know, intuitively bought it, which is something I never ever do. Normally I always do my research, but my intuition did not trick me, so I'm happy about that. I think I've used it, yeah, I've definitely posted a recent pick a card reading where I use that one. It's one of the choices. It's my recent messages from Spirit. I use this and I use another couple of decks. One of them I'm going to show you just after. All about messages from Spirit but with a fantasy twist. Make sure to watch that if you want to see how the deck reads, because it was really great reader. Okay, next up that actually was that I used in the same reading, because it's again quite recent to my collection, but I wanted to use it straight away, is a Stardragons Oracle card by Paolo Barbieri. This is a Los Scarabeo deck, so it's quite affordable. And so this is a dragon deck, if you couldn't tell by the title. Here are the backs, and this deck is divided in two parts, so I will come to it, but as you can see, some cards have a red dot and some cards have a green dot, and that's because they are kind of divided into two different categories. The guidebook is very good, it's got great meaning. It's one of those Los Scarabeo ones, so it's got lots of different languages, message, as well as a constellation and keyword, because this is called Stardragon. So every card has a dragon, but most importantly, every card is linked to a particular constellation, to a particular star, which you actually can see in each of the cards. So for example, this one is Distraction, and as you can see here, there's constellation. I love dragons. I mean, hello, have you seen my ring? Like, this is one of my favorite pieces of jewelry ever. I love working with dragons. I love dragon energy. It's one of those things I just really like working with. I'm not that much into unicorns or fairy, but I'm a dragon person. So when I saw this deck existed, I didn't even have any dragon deck. I was like, I need it in my life. What I appreciate is, first of all, the artwork. Absolutely gorgeous. I think it's stunning. One of the most beautiful fantasy-inspired art deck I've ever seen. I also really love the fact that it's got dragons from different elements. You have fire dragon, water dragon, air dragon, and what I love is the fact that with every single dragon, so it's linked to a star, and that star is represented by a being in every single card. And so it's like the guardian of the dragon, like his best pal, which I really love. I love the fact that the dragons are not on their own, but that they have friends. I think that's so nice. Love the fact that there's a human, or not necessarily a human, I'll say a being in every single card as well as a dragon. And as you can see, in terms of keyword, it's super small, so it's not intrusive in the card anyway at all. You can really enjoy the beauty of the image, I think. And so you get two keywords. One of the keyword is linked to the dragon. One of the keyword is linked to a message from the being. So you have two, for every single card you have two messages. One from the dragon, which is more like badass, burn that shit. And one from the being, which is usually a bit more healing and subtle. So I appreciate that balance, and look at this imagery. Honestly, it's just so beautiful. This deck, it doesn't have that many cards. I will say that's the one thing that I was a bit not impressed with. 33 cards. I normally only get oracle decks if they have at least 36, maybe 40. Like, feels like it's, you know, more worth for your money. But this one was affordable, and it's about dragons, so that rule flew out of the window because I can't be helped when it's about dragons. I'm here for it. Oh my god, look at this. It is so badass. I am so in love with this. Like culmination, completion, and renewal. I've loved using this deck as soon as I got it. Been using it a ton. I used it in the recent same pick a card reading I was talking about earlier. My message from Spirit, but with a fantasy twist. Used that deck as well. It read beautifully. I can't wait to do more reading with it. So cards like this, very colorful, etc., are the main cards of the deck with keywords, etc. And then you have 5 majors, I guess you could call them, which are the one with the red backs. or the red dot. And so those cards are, there's like 5 of them. There's time, resources, space, knowledge, and inspiration. And this you could draw before you do a reading to think, okay, what is the theme of my reading? What do I need to focus on? What should be the main focus of my reading, etc. I consider those to be kind of like major arcana. You could mix them in, you could do them separately. You do you, boo. But I thought that was a cool idea to have like 5 majors, and then that just makes the deck more versatile, I think. So this has been a huge favorite already, even though it's fairly new. Okay, last oracle deck I wanted to mention today, and then we move on to tarot. We have this, in French, Murmures de guérison by Angela Hartfield and Josephine, which I know you can find in English. I believe it's called Whispers of Healing, Healing Whispers. There will be healing and whispers in the title. This is a mass market deck, which again you can definitely find in English because I've seen it before. But I have the French version because I found it in my bookstore. And actually I'm so happy I bought like 3 oracle decks that day, which at the time I was like, okay Maureen, you need to calm your titties, that's a little bit much. But then we went into lockdown again where I live, and so I felt like, okay, well, at least I've got new decks to play with and to keep me occupied and stuff, and now I can't go to the bookstore, so I'm glad I bought it when I could. Lockdown life. So, you know, I feel like it was I do not regret those purchases at all. So these are the backs of this deck. It comes with a really nice guidebook. It's gold. The French version has gold edges. To be fair, not my favorite. I feel like it's the kind of edges that's gonna flick and chip after a while, but it is what it is. And this deck has landscape card as well as upright cards, so I know that bothers some people putting it out there, but the artwork though. So this is all about a healing deck. As you can see, the imagery is very detailed, it's very soothing, very pretty, and super detailed. Every single message is meant to be nurturing and healing. And this one, I knew what I was getting myself into when I bought it. I just didn't know. I've seen the English version before. I just didn't know that it had been translated in French. So when I saw that it existed in French, I thought, well, why not? I find the artwork so detailed. I think it's what's the artist's name? Josephine. So they've done these two people. They have done another one. I think they've done 2. They've got a gratitude one, gratitude oracle, and I think they've done a nature one. I would be tempted to get the nature one if I encounter it someday, because I really enjoy it. I think the artwork is beautiful, and the writing isn't bad either. It's all about healing. It's all keywords around, you know, self-care, self-love, so I find it very nurturing. And considering I got this just before lockdown, I feel like it was perfect timing, because I need some of that healing, soothing to my soul energy for sure. Look at this. It's so detailed, like there's just so much going on. I don't know how long it took this person to make all those paintings by hands, but oh my god, it's insane. So really enjoy this one. Loving, healing, nurturing energy. If you want kind of like hug from the universe vibe, I really enjoy it. Plus the backs I thought are really cute. Some of my most favorite backs I've ever seen. I'm loving this kind of like watercolor vibe. Okay, let's move on to tarot decks. So let's start with a deck that I ordered on Book Depository a long time ago. I think it was like 9 months ago, and I forgot about it, as you would if you order something like 9 months ago. And what is time anyway? I feel like with the Panini, my notion of time has completely flew out the window. I don't even know what a day is, what a week is. I feel like lockdown time is like dog years time, and so whatever, you know, it doesn't really matter. I ordered it ages ago. I thought it was lost, I forgot about it, and then it appeared in my mailbox magically. So thank you, universe. I guess it was the right time for me to play with it. And I'm so excited because I've been super enjoying it ever since I received it. So this is a Hanson Robert Tarot. This is a mass market deck. I think it's fairly inexpensive, and it's been around since the 80s or 70s. It's a US game, and it's one of those that literally, it's one of the classics. So here are the backs, and it's quite smaller than an average deck. Just so you know, it's more like a mini deck, which I didn't know when I received it, but I'm here for, because it's small, it's cute, it's convenient to carry around. Not that I'm going anywhere because it's locked down, but you know, if I wanted to, I could put it in my bag. So, like I said, this is a 70s classic. You have your Morgan Greer, which I know a lot of people love. I don't really vibe with it. I don't know what it is about it. I've tried it, not for me. You have the Aquarian Tarot, which I love. That's my, you know, so far was my favorite 70s deck. This one, I have it in a tin. I'm considering getting the normal size as well because I love it so much. You have, what else you have? I think you have, I don't know, I forgot. But this is one of those. This is one of those that's been around for, you know, a few decades now. And it is so good. So, you know, what I will say, diversity not on. There's like, you know, only white people in there. I feel like in the 70s they weren't really paying much attention to that, which is unfortunate. Obviously, this would not pass the modern kind of criteria in terms of diversity for ethnicity anyway. For age, I think it's doing a good job. This has a very well fairy tale, fairy book inspired deck kind of feel. Feels like something out of, yeah, tales, fairy tales, etc. What I love so much is one, the physical expression, like facial expressions are on point. Look at this Queen of Swords. She is so badass, but that's not just the reason. And look at this Five of Pentacles. Oh my god, it's so emotional. You can really feel the suffering on this card. Like the facial expressions are on point. I love, love, love it. So this deck, I wanted it, one, because I thought it was very nice facial expression, etc. Plus it's a classic, and I love those classic decks. I don't know what it is. There's something about a deck that's been around for a few decades that I find so powerful. Like the Aquarian, for example, is for me a deck that is one of the most chatty, and I know that's going to rub some people the wrong way because some people do not personify their decks, but for me, my decks have different voices, okay? Don't come for me. So, this day, my Aquarian Tarot, which is from the 70s, and my RWS, for example, and my Tarot de Marseille, which are all, you know, they've been around for decades, you know, even centuries, some of them. I find that they are so chatty, so easy to read, so clear to me. I never doubt what they're saying, and I find it exactly the same with this one. I never have to feel like, I never have to think what is going on. Never have to wonder what the message is. Always speak so clearly, because I believe that decks like this have accumulated this kind of energy network around them, this kind of egregore from all the readings they've done. And so when you do readings with older decks, that's my belief anyway, right? You don't have to agree. I feel like you kind of tap into this deck's egregore, and so you tap into this like collective reading consciousness that's been built up around those decks. I've only had one deck that is older that has not really spoken so clearly and been so on point and been so clear to me, and that's the Morgan Greer. I don't know why, like I said, because I have owned it and then I gave it to a friend because I just couldn't. And I find the artwork so beautiful in the Morgan Greer, so it's not the artwork, but energetically speaking, it was like, no, I don't like it. But this, I love. This little deck is like, honestly, I'm so in love with it. It doesn't look like much, but it is small but mighty, and I am so here for that. So I would love to know if you have any other recommendation around 70s or 80s kind of, you know, classic decks that you think I would enjoy, because I only know Aquarian Tarot, Hanson Roberts and Morgan Greer. I mean, I have the Cosmic Tarot as well, which is actually, let me show you. This is Tarot Cosmic Tarot. This was more 80s, I think, so a bit, or maybe 90s. It was a bit later than this and Aquarian, etc. But I also love this one. I think it reads beautifully. So if you have any other decks that you know that are around from that era, that have been around for a few decades already, please let me know, because I'm really enjoying using those classic decks. I love my modern decks because they show more the world I want to live in, they show more diversity, etc. So I'll never stop getting, you know, modern decks. But there is something to be said about classic decks. I don't know what, it really speaks to my soul. So if you have any recommendation, I would love to know. Okay, let's move on to the Star Wars Tarot. So I've mentioned it in my recent favorites, but I wanted to include it in a deck haul because I did get it since my last deck haul. I got it through someone who was liaising directly with the artist because they needed to raise money for a personal reason, and so he released this deck on a small batch. I got it through that. I don't think this is a finished version. As you can see, the corners are not perfectly cut, etc. So I think you are able to get this deck, or you will be. It might not be the version I have now, because what I got was a draft version, like I said, purely for like helping the artist out, raising money for a certain thing. So if you're interested in learning more about this deck, check out the artist at Star Wars Tarot. I don't know where you can get it. I don't know if he's released a new version, when he's gonna release it. He might, but if it's not already available, he's working on releasing it, you know, because it exists. It's just this version was like the first draft. So if you couldn't guess by the title, it's a Star Wars Tarot, so it's all about Star Wars, so any Star Wars fan out there would love it. The backs, you know, are iconic. We have the Rebel Fleet versus the Death Star. I love that. And this deck again is a smaller deck compared to my average tarot size. It's more like a mini or pocket size, I will say, so that makes it quite good. And my favorite part about this deck are the majors. I think the majors are so good. They really take into consideration everything Star Wars, like Jar Jar Binks as the magician. That's a tongue twister. Is iconic. I love that. So I really enjoy most of the deck. What I will say is that the as you can see, it's fairly inspired by RWS, but the suits have been renamed. Now, tentacles are pentacles, which makes sense. I can get on board with that. But then it gets a little bit complicated, and so I've had to make myself a little cheat sheet, because I was like, what is going on? So blasters are cups, droids are wands, and sabers are swords. So I understand sabers are swords because, you know, lightsabers are the Star Wars universe's swords, like Ace of Sabers. Makes total sense to me that it's the Ace of Swords. Where it gets complicated for me is blasters as cups, because for me blasters are to put hole in people's body, and cups are about emotion and intuition, and I can't reconcile those two concepts. So I do struggle with this if I'm reading with this, if I don't have my cheat sheet. But I think it's just a case of getting used to it. Like this is a Two of Cups, for example. I get it, I can read with it, but I read with it easier if I have my, you know, little sheet there. Some of the major arcana have been renamed, like the devil is a cis, which is fine, makes sense to me. So mostly, you know, and of course the moon has been renamed Endor Moon, which I love, and it's got Ewoks, which are my favorite. I love Ewoks. I love this trans card as well. Honestly, I enjoy this deck. I like the Star Wars universe, so I do really enjoy this deck, and I think the choices have been very clever. The Chariot, for example, is very well chosen. Mostly it all, you know, it all fits, but you do have to get used to the changes of suits a little bit. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm not the biggest fan of renaming things anyway, because I'm lazy, so I don't like learning new things every time I use a deck. But you know, I'll make it work, and I still really enjoy it. I still think it's a really great deck, and I definitely enjoyed using it last month, so that's why it was in my favorites, and I'm sure I'm gonna continue loving using it. And the more you use it, the more you're gonna get to know it. Okay, let's move on to my next tarot deck I wanted to mention, the Lubenko Tarot by Emily, I think, Lubenko. This deck has had a journey. This is from a Kickstarter that I think I backed maybe a year ago, at least 9 months, honestly. It was well early in 2020, I think, and it took a long time to get here and to be made, etc., as Kickstarters do. Plus, on top of that, you had the fact that I live on a, you know, little rock in the middle of the ocean, and things just triple the time. So I have seen many other tarot tubers talk about this deck coming to them, and I was there like, okay, well, I'm just gonna wait for mine to come, you know, and when it gets there, I'm gonna enjoy it. So I didn't want to watch anyone's videos because I didn't want to get like spoiled. And I'm so happy I didn't, because it really, when it got here, I got to fully experience the enjoyment of going through each card, and I am in love. So the guidebook is actually really good. Every single card you get a upward and reverse meaning. I think you have a couple of spreads, I think. The box is gorgeous. You know, this is indie deck. It was done through Kickstarter, so the quality is amazing. The cardstock is this beautiful matte cardstock. It's got silver edges, beautiful, honestly beautiful production. 10 out of 10, chef's kiss. This is now, I think, or is about to be available to be bought directly through the artist. So, you know, check out either Instagram or Etsy to find out where you can get this. But I've seen on Instagram that she's getting ready to release this deck to the public, and I'm so happy because everyone deserves this deck in their life. It is absolutely stunning. So the premise of this deck is that I'll read you what it says on the back. Exploring the surreal, the intense, the queer, and the divine. And it really is all of those things. It's fantasy, it's queer, it's dark, it's strange, but at the same time it's beautiful. And I am in love with this deck. I can't stop using it since I got it. And I didn't think I would honestly love it that much. But ever since I received it, which is about a week ago, I have not been able to put it down. It's the only deck I'm using, and it has already got a spot in my favorites. Like, you know, I have a space on my tarot shelf that is my favorite decks that I constantly go to, and this is up there already, even though it's not been here very long at all. As you can see, it's quite inspired by the RWS, but it still does very much its own thing. The colors are sometimes very dark, sometimes very vibrant. Look at this Knight of Cups. He's gonna get you into trouble. The kind of trouble you really want to get into though. Love him. Love this deck so much. I don't know, there's something about those characters that they feel like I recognize them from my dreams. They are not like new to me, if that makes sense, so I definitely can appreciate where she got her inspiration from. Any fantasy lovers, I think you would really enjoy it. If you don't know, one of my favorite decks is the Stunning Tarot by Jonas Adjaus, and this is giving me different vibes but still in the same kind of world, which is what really resonates with me, which is fantasy but still somehow rooted in a certain reality. You have beings, humans, so you're still able to project yourself and people you know there, but at the same time it's full of magic. This is one of my favorite cards. Look at this Ace of Pentacles. How beautiful is that? It's just perfection. So some of the cards are gonna be more punchy and gonna make you, you know, not necessarily, they're gonna make you feel a certain amount of things. Like this Strength card, at first I didn't love it, but you know, it's growing on me. So, and I feel like if it's rubbing me the wrong way, there's obviously something for me there to explore. It's just not the traditional imagery we see. Normally we see a lion. This is like a naked human with the head of a lion. So I don't know, at first I was like not sure about that, but I don't know, the more you use it, the more you can appreciate it. And I don't know, I feel like this deck is very powerful. I love this Hierophant. He's creepy as fuck, but I love him. I appreciate that it's something different for once. I love this idea of like removing the mask and there's like whatever is underneath the mask is slightly creepy, but I'm here for it. I don't think this deck is scary at all, but it definitely has some darkness. However, it also has some beautiful light. Like, look at this Sun card, it's so beautiful and vibrant. So this deck is just stunning, really stunning. Oh yeah, this is one card that I feel like people might not appreciate. It definitely does its own thing. Look at this Lovers. This is an image of the Lovers where it's not just about love and romantic stuff and choice. It's also about the overall consuming, feeding off of each other's energy, feeding off of each other's passion, feeding off of each other's fear, codependent side of love that I never seen ever in a deck before, which I think is so interesting. So very interesting, but I wanted to show it because it can be a bit disturbing for some people. Of course, this deck has nudity, in case that wasn't obvious from this. But I don't think it's done in a way that it's rude or anything. Look at this Emperor. Looks like Odin. That's the only card that was like, what happened there? Like, what is that? I look at those two cards together. This is like, wow, amazing, beautiful. I see details, I see passion, I see background, line work, and this is like, what happened? I understand what the person was trying to do, because it's like, it feels like two little people looked in some kind of lens or glass or something. I kind of get it, but at the same time I hate it because it just doesn't feel like cohesive with the rest of the deck. When you compare the kind of artwork you have throughout, this feels like it was a sketch for the card that wasn't finished, for me. But that's it, that's a minor detail, and I can get over it because every single other card I think is amazing. So, you know, it's just like, what happened? You know, like, it really does feel like a draft. Anyway, I don't want to shit on this deck. I can't draw for shit, so I can't say anything. I'm just giving my personal opinion. I'm not criticizing the artist in itself. Of course, I fully support her because I think what they've done is so amazing, and I think you should definitely check their artwork and just this particular deck because it is stunning. Okay, last deck I wanted to mention today. This is the Lua Tarot by Marie Bento over at divinemuses.net. So this deck traveled way more than I did in the last year and a half to 2 years. It comes from America. This is an indie tarot deck. I bought it straight away from Marie's website. You can find it on Etsy or on Divine Muses website. And so it was quite difficult for me to get this deck. I had to wait until my dad went to France to get it delivered there so he could bring it back to me before this new lockdown stuff happened. So it was sitting in France for quite a while. I'm so pleased that it's finally here. So I've actually mentioned it in my video around my favorite indie tarot decks in the category for history buffs. If you love history, look at this box first of all, which is amazing. You have Medusa in the top box, and then here you have as above so below, and you have the Latin. I did Latin for 7 years, and that's how much I can tell you from it. Yep. That was like a waste of time, right? The only thing I enjoyed about the Latin class is when we translated Harry Potter spells. That tells you a lot about my Latin experience. In my video around best indie decks right now for me, and this was under the category of for my historical lovers, history buff, etc. Because, so here are the backs. This reuses engravings from the 19th century, so pre-existing artwork. It's all in black and white, and it's already existing engravings of landscape and peoples from all over the world. What I love about this deck is, first of all, the production quality is amazing. One of the best quality, like this is what indie decks, you know, that you expect from buying directly from an artist. The cardstock is lovely, it's matte, it's not too thick, not too thin, the artwork is beautiful, it has a very nice mix of ethnicity, age, and so that's something I really appreciate because it's something we very rarely see when we see decks that we use pre-existing artwork. It's borderless, and that, you know, she's added lots of details by collaging different engravings together. She started to share on her Instagram more details on some cards around where certain of the details come from, characters, etc., which I find fascinating. You have two judgment cards in this. You have a judgment card and an evolution card. For people who like more traditional judgment, you'll have the judgment. For people who like more modern new age version of judgment, you have this butterfly right here, which is nice. And overall this deck is gorgeous. I love it so much. Look at this Queen of Wands. I think it's one of my favorite cards. Well, I love the Queen of Wands anyway, but she's so beautiful. If you're looking for a classic, elegant, timeless deck, and the guidebook that Marie wrote with it is so good. Like, it's not huge, because it fits in the box, which is perfect. I love that. She references traditional title from the Golden Dawn, and she gives you keywords. Like, there's spreads in there, there's like a lot of information around a personal type. Like, it is such a well-written guidebook, such a beautifully produced deck. This was my little, not so little deck haul of what I've collected in the last 2 months, or you know, things that I've ordered way before that are finally making their way to me. And so I hope that you've enjoyed this little walkthrough, show and tell video. If you did, don't hesitate to give my video a thumbs up, or leave me a comment, you know, letting me know what are the favorite tarot or oracle deck you've bought lately. If there is anything that you know you're enjoying at the moment, I'd love to hear it. If you are not yet subscribed to my video, I invite you to do so. I post pretty much every single week, lots of different videos, pick a card readings, tarot and oracle related content, all of that good stuff. And I just want to say again a huge thank you to everyone who's been, you know, liking, subscribing, all of that. I'm so grateful for you all. And so until my next video, as per usual, please take care of yourself. I am sending you lots and lots of good vibes, and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!